Now I'm hunched over a typewriter. Guess you call that pain in a cave. There's a word I can't remember, a feeling I cannot escape.
I promise not every music episode is going to be about Bright Eyes. That said, this one will be, and probably several more in the future if I stick with this series. This is episode 3 of Car Talk of the Week, the not weekly, not podcast about driving around and talking about art. Today we'll be looking at a couple of Conor Oberst songs from very different eras of his songwriting and discussing their thematic significance in his overall discography. Those songs are If Winter Ends and Night at Lake Unknown, as well as maybe a couple visits to other tracks along the way. The drive will be a more scenic one this time, doing laps around the lake of another golf game. The road is narrow and traction is scarce, so you won't be seeing super fast times out of me. But hopefully it'll provide some picturesque footage and a calming break from the other frantic speed runs. I'll still keep a timer going though, for those of you who are fond of scales, clocks, and other little forms of measurement. This essay concept started years ago as one of many conversations I found myself having over and over with various musicians, artists, and DIY scene creatives I've spent my early 20s trying to fit in with. For reasons that are probably beyond the scope of this video, Conor Oberst and Bright Eyes were often popular and polarizing topics of discussion in those scenes. One of the most common debates was whether or not his songwriting has aged gracefully in recent years, or if he'd fallen prey to the common fate of angst-filled teen songwriters by poorly rehashing youthful themes far past the age it feels artistically allowable. This video is also not about answering that question in general, but it will include a strong example, in my opinion, of Conor's songwriting maturing very gracefully through time. At least through 2014, that is, which, according to his harsher critics, is long after his music quality took a dive around 2007, but does leave plenty of time for far less graceful aging in the years since. For my part, I'm going to try to keep my biases somewhat out of the discussion, but I'll lay them out here for you to weigh against the opinions presented. Bright Eyes is, in some regards, my favorite band of all time. I have thought about and listened to their music far more than any other group or artist discography, and the volume of those thoughts is probably only rivaled by the amount of time I've spent contemplating and rewatching the films of Charlie Kaufman. That said, that band, and Conor Oberst more broadly, has also made some of my least favorite pieces of music I've ever heard, and I swing back and forth between completely obsessed and almost viscerally repulsed by even some of my favorite albums. It's a strange relationship to a band I love more than any other, and at times hate in equal measure. I'm sure that cleared absolutely nothing up, but I think it will provide a useful backdrop for the rest of this video. In 1998, Bright Eyes released their first non-compilation album, Letting Off the Happiness. This statement is up for debate. Their previous release of a collection of songs written and recorded in 1995 to 1997 is presented as a loose collection more than a cohesive album, but in the context of a discography often engaging with the question of what is music, I wouldn't put it past this early release to be an interrogation of what is an album, in a way that calls its identity into question. That said, none of that matters at all for the topic today, so we'll take it at face value. That allows us to call Letting Off the Happiness a debut album, for no reason other than it's convenient to. The first track of this supposed first album is If Winter Ends, and it serves as a great introduction to the early era of Bright Eyes. It starts with a surreal fever dream of ambient tones, distorted sounds of a crowd, and a sort of softened, explosive tone that feels invitingly warm yet vaguely dread-inspired. This style of soundscape intro becomes a recurring motif, especially for first songs on future albums, often lulling listeners into a dreamy headspace and foreshadowing thematic elements. This intro, to me anyway, evokes feelings of forgotten memories, maybe a fair or park from my hometown as a child, with distorted, unfamiliar sounds half between playful yells and more sinister screams. It's short, only about 40 seconds, but impactful. As the ambient tones fade, a single strumming acoustic guitar comes in and the song starts. A young Conor Oberst, no older than 17 or 18, sings with a gruffness beyond his years. He dreamt of a fever, one that would cure him of this cold winter set heart, with heat to melt these frozen tears, burned with reasons as to carry on. He's lost, without a light to follow. He cries out, "I swear that I would follow anything. Just get me out of here." This is one of the ultimately many Bright Eyes songs exploring a desire to escape and a burning search for meaning in a seemingly cold, random universe. It's a recurring theme in pretty much every early Bright Eyes album and becomes a defining characteristic of Conor's discography. And it's a large part of what drew me to his work in the first place. It's an intensely relatable, familiar feeling, one that Conor often packages into remarkably efficient, dense compositions. Rather than talking about them directly, I'll be including some of the more relevant lines from If Winter Ends and maybe some other songs on screen. When I was first discovering and diving into Bright Eyes, I was about the same age as Conor was when he was writing those first couple of albums. My friend group mostly consisted of artists and musicians who had escaped their middle-of-the-country hometowns and come to a coastal college city to pursue their creative dreams. I wasn't geographically far from my own hometown, but the cultural shift from semi-rural suburb to Bay Area city life felt far more significant than the 40-minute drive implied. Needless to say, the idea of moving to a new place being the solution to our existential woes was a common sentiment among the people in my life. Whether it was the move to Berkeley or San Francisco that saved them from the dullness of their beginnings, or the next move to LA or New York that would one day fix them, the artists I knew were always looking to escape something. I think there's something distinctly adolescent about that particular desire. Not to dismiss it as childish or immature, but more so put it into context. For many people, their teens are when they first start to see that world outside their immediate upbringing, and we often latch onto an idealized version of one of those places to dream of escaping to. It's also when a lot of people start really contemplating their mortality, their purpose in life, and their place in this world. There's something very externally focused about viewing life through this adolescent lens, looking out at the world or your environment to be blamed for your unhappiness and lack of purpose. Some people never grow out of it. I'm personally guilty at times, but those thoughts do mature and change with life experience and exposure to new perspectives. I think Conor's thoughts on this, or at least the thoughts he puts into his songwriting, developed in a particularly interesting way between the 1998 release of If Winter Ends and Night at Lake Unknown in 2014. One of the things I've personally struggled with in some of Conor Oberst's songwriting, especially his later work, has been a perceived lack of self-awareness or lack of self-accountability, despite being couched in plenty of self-loathing and self-pity. It's a contradiction of sorts that's easy to overlook in the music of his younger self, and perhaps even fits perfectly with the themes of that era, but is one that decidedly does not age well. In every album from, say, Casadega onward, this particular quality is one I've come to expect will spoil my listening experience, despite plenty of other brilliant songs and moments I still end up loving. With all that in mind, Night at Lake Unknown serves as a moment of striking self-awareness I find deeply moving, like a moment of perfectly clear lucidity in an overall clouded latter half of a discography. Throughout his early songs, there's a longing for something to fix the deep-seated brokenness that plagues him. Love, a change of scenery, fame, purpose, anything. But looking from the outside, those never seem to be the answer. Night at Lake Unknown represents an epiphany, a break from that cycle of looking for external solutions, and maybe the start of finding peace through introspection. Went on the hunt for fame and fortune, picked up the trail just fine. Everywhere I go, the doors fly open, but I want out once I'm inside. This verse is particularly relevant to the comparison I wanted to draw, but the whole song is written with a deep sense of self-awareness and accountability for past mistakes. After a youth spent dreaming of the next big change that would finally fix everything, he's maybe realized that wherever he goes, he's still the same person. You can't outrun who you are. You can't fix an internal problem with external solutions. Wherever you go, it'll still be the place where you are. I think this conclusion is maybe overly cynical. I think where you are does matter, and the right change of scene can do wonders for someone's mental health. I also think that concept of recognizing you're unhappy no matter where you go is dangerously close to a defeatist attitude about the unattainability of your own happiness. But at the same time, I really do believe in the value of looking inward. And oftentimes, external solutions and easy escapes are a crutch preventing us from dealing with our inner selves. I used to have a much more definitive perspective on this comparison and its applicability to life, but in recent years, I've found myself once again longing for a change of location, feeling trapped in the same place. And it makes me wonder if maybe there is a spring out there for me. I suppose it's up in the air, whether moving through my next door will cure my current melancholy, or if I'll just want out once I'm inside. This has been another rambling episode of Car Talk of the Week, the vague ideas of which might someday be shaped into a more coherent, focused video essay. If I offended any Bright Eyes fans, I hope it's clear my critiques come from a place of love. And since we're nearing the end of our drive, it's a perfect place to sign off. This has been Justin of In Images. Thanks for listening.
There's no perfect spring that's waiting somewhere. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Or at least be the same. As that was. Picture frame. I don't need concentration to know when I'm in pain. When I lost myself, I lost you by extension. Don't know who would stand to gain. Silly dreams aren't worth mention. Keep collecting in my brain. And on the hunt for fame and fortune, picked up the trail just fine. Everywhere I go, the doors fly open. I want out once I'm inside. When I break my heart, I know that yours gets broken. Just wish that kept me in line. But I can't live inside the moment. It just keeps leaving me behind. Just keeps leaving me behind.